Welcome to Spirit of Prophecy, a short teaching. Our verse today is found in Romans chapter 10, verse 4, and it states, "For Christ is the end of the law for righteousness to everyone who believes." The verse would make it sound as if the law has come to an end. Christ has appeared, and now the law is no longer needed. After all, Christ is our righteousness, not the law. Is that what this verse is actually saying? Christ has come and done away with the law? I think the key to understanding this verse is in the word end. For Christ is the end of the law for righteousness. The Greek word is telos, and it means to set out for a definite point or goal. Properly, the point aimed at as a limit. It's where we get our English word telescope. We point or aim a telescope at the stars so that we can more clearly see the beauty of God's creation. So now that we know the definition to this word end, let's put it back in the verse and let's hear it again. For Christ is the definite point or goal of the law for righteousness to everyone who believes. Now this seems to make more sense. The main point or goal of the law is not to point to itself, but to Christ, our righteousness. This is what the law is still today. It is still pointing men and women to Christ today, so that they may be justified by faith in Messiah. After all, if there is no law, there is no offense. People don't know that they've offended God if there's no law to show them that they've offended a holy God. So the law has not gone anywhere. God is still using the law today to cause men and women to look to His Son Yeshua, who kept the law perfectly so that we might be justified by faith. Now notice how Paul uses the word law here as it relates to salvation and not sanctification. In other places, Paul applies the law as a means of sanctification for the believer. And one such example is in Ephesians chapter 6, starting with verse 1. And it states, "Children, obey your parents in the Lord, for this is right." Verse 2, "Honor thy father and mother, which is the first commandment with promise, that it may be well with thee, and thou mayest live long on the earth." Here Paul is quoting the fifth commandment to the believers at Ephesus, and reminding the children that by obeying their parents, their life on earth would be extended. So we see here Paul reminding the believers of the law of God as a guide for their lives. Now let me state this. If the law is done away with in Christ, why would Paul need to remind the believers at Ephesus of the fifth commandment? And not only the fifth commandment, but of the promise that comes with it. In our passage in Romans, Paul is using the word law as it relates to salvation. Not that the law saves anyone, but is used like a metaphor in Galatians, like a schoolmaster to bring men and women to faith in Messiah. Notice in chapter 10, verse 1, what it says. "Brethren, my heart's desire and prayer to God for Israel is that they might be," there it is, "saved." So the concept and the whole scope of what Paul is referring to in the way he uses the word law in this context, it has to do with salvation. "For I bear them record that they have a zeal of God, but not according to knowledge. For they, being ignorant of God's righteousness, and going about to establish their own righteousness, have not submitted themselves unto the righteousness of God." And now our verse today, verse 4, "For Christ is the end goal of the law for righteousness to everyone who believes." I have added the word goal to emphasize the truth of the meaning of the word. The point or goal or purpose of the law here is to bring an individual to saving faith in Yeshua. Again, the law has not ended. That's not what this is saying. It's saying the end goal of the law is Messiah. So the law hasn't come to an end. God is still using the law to bring men and women to faith in Christ. Remember, it's a schoolmaster to bring us to Christ. He also uses the law to conform us to the image of His dear Son, Yeshua. as we read in Ephesians chapter 6. As a great pastor had once said, the law sends me running to Christ, and when I come to Christ, he turns me around and sends me back to the law. I hope this short teaching has helped you in some way. Thank you for watching, and goodbye.